So Ikigai is a semination of 4 things: what you are good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what is your passion. And all the things agar aap combine karo, so this is perfect, which suits us. 5 years back, the total market cap of new age businesses were hardly anything.
Yeah.
Right? Today, when you look at the total market cap of listed space of new age businesses, it's more than $100 billion.
Okay.
$100 billion cross हो गया, which is a very very strong
और अभी तो
number.
लाइन लगी हुई है कितने सारे
अब
IPO
आएंगे
आएंगे.
because it will feed on itself
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Because the success of Zomato, success of Swiggy, success of Policy Bazaar, success of Paytm, and many others, right? That will feed into other businesses, and they will also come for listing. And this is a journey which China has seen for 15 years. From 2000 to 2020 तक 20 साल उन्होंने देखा, US ने भी 20-25 साल देखा. एंड मेरा मानना है कि वर्ल्ड के लिए ये एक यूरेका मोमेंट है, which happened in 95, if you remember, when internet was came in, right? And then after that, when the cycle started turning, you had a dot-com bubble, which kind of filtered out the weak and the good, right? And after that dot-com bubble, whichever company survived, you got created an Apple, you got a Amazon, you got a Google, you got a Meta, you got so many other, Nvidia, and so on forth.
Hi friends, welcome back to another episode in our podcast series. Today I have Pankaj Tibrewal, my ex-colleague from Kotak. Hi Pankaj.
Hi.
It's been 6 months now?
Yeah, since the time we launched the fund, it's 6 months, but exactly a year back I quit Kotak.
Wow, how time flies, huh?
How time flies, yeah.
At peak, Pankaj was managing 50,000 crore or more?
Almost 60,000.
60,000 crore was the peak AUM that Pankaj was managing for Kotak Mutual Fund, and over a period, star fund manager and top performing funds, and wo sab to tha hi. So Pankaj, let's start the conversation from, let's say we go back 1 year when you would have been contemplating about this decision. So just share with us how this thought, or was it something that you've been thinking for a long time, or is it something that just happened? So what was the thought process? Because I'm sure, at least the way I'm thinking, it wouldn't have been easy, right?
So obviously, when you are managing almost $7 billion for consecutive 5, 6, 7 years, you have been among India's top 5 fund rated managers, platform like Kotak, a boss like Nilesha. So everything was going good, everything was on the platter. So there was nothing to think about, and leaving everything at the peak is not easy, right? But only one thought which helped me do that was that I am a great believer in history. And I believe that India is exactly mimicking US by 20 years, 20-25 years.
Okay.
The way we are bringing our kids, our lifestyle, our way of investing, our way of thinking is more westernized and more like US.
Okay.
And if you go back to the US in the 80s and the early 90s, and I've written it on the LinkedIn post because everybody asked me, क्यों छोड़ा कोटक? So I said कि अगर लिख ही देते हैं. So it's there on the LinkedIn post, and I said that US at the same time was similar to what India is today.
Okay.
About $3.5-4 trillion economy thi. And many of the names, legends you see today, Howard Marks, Tiger Global, many of them, their seeds were born in the 80s and early 90s. They were all working for an institution. They quit those institutions, started their investment boutique firm, and today, in after 25, 30, 35 years, they are legends in their own regard.
Yeah, global brands.
Global brands. And my firm conviction is that India se next decade and a half, you will see at least 8-9 investment boutique firms which will have a global stature. Can I be one of them? And if that was the thought, whether I'm timing it right, wrong was always a decision. Ki markets were at a high, whether I'm launching it at the right time. But then I said that if the call is for the next 5, 10, 15 year block,
1 year doesn't matter.
1 year, 1.5 years doesn't matter. So that was one of the important points where I thought if history was to repeat again, India would see the same journey for many managers. The second one on the lighter side was, I come from a Madu family.
Okay.
And among my cousins, there are 20 cousins. Huh? I am the 20th. So 19 of them, whether my sister or my brothers, all run businesses.
Okay.
तो कोई भी फैमिली फंक्शन में जाता था तो बोलता है यार इसको नहीं समझ में आएगा, ये सर्विस वाला है, ये जॉब वाला है. So you know that always also was there, that it's there in the genes, if not now when. And the last one was that which I applied to my investing companies. I believe that in India, outliers are always there on both sides, but promoters between 38-40 to 60 create the maximum wealth. आप हिस्ट्री निकाल के देखो, last 30-40 years, the prime age for creation of wealth is 40 to 60. Okay. Because by 40 you get 2-3 cycles experience, and by 60-65 you move into a different genre, जहाँ 60 के बाद आपकी पूरी लाइफ आपके लिए दर्पण के समान है. So you can see what good, what bad you did, and you move into a different genre. किसके लिए कर रहा हूँ, क्यों कर रहा हूँ, क्या है, कैसे नहीं है. तो fire in the belly moves out. Wisdom is there, but fire in the belly is missing. So I always believe that if you can do that when you are looking in your investing companies, why not for myself? So ये सारी चीज़ों का combination was where I took that call, and then let's see how it goes.
No, I will talk about numbers. The starting has been very nice, but before that, the name that you've chosen for your firm, it's very unique for a finance company, right?
Yes.
So the name is Ikigai, the brand name you've chosen, Ikigai. So I read the book, so I know about the concept, but it's somewhat unique for a money management, a serious money management firm. So how did this happen?
So the first thought was that it comes with my first answer, a global thought.
Okay.
And if I have a global ambition in a decade, 15-20 years, name matters a lot.
Yeah.
And I always thought that I don't want a pure Indian name which will have problems later on connecting with the globe. I want a generic name where people can connect with that concept very fast.
Okay.
And trust me, the first thing people connect with the name, it's been just a thought and overall. And during COVID, we all read this book, Ikigai.
Yeah.
So I was super convinced on this concept, that purpose of life.
Yes.
And just for everybody, there's a small town in Japan called Okinawa, and that has maximum number of centennials, people who live 100 years above. And when the researcher went and saw कि क्यों वो लोग 100 साल के ऊपर जीते हैं, because they never retired mentally in their lives. So officially retired हो गए होंगे, but they kept themselves active 4, 5, 6 hours a day. Somebody is doing gardening तो gardening कर रहा है, somebody is teaching, somebody is making rice for sushi तो वो कर रहा है. And they kept themselves fit and they ate well in terms of diet. And that's how everybody found a purpose of life. And generally we all are very confused what is our purpose. And for me, what gives me passion and joy for last 22 years since I've been working is seeing compounding wealth and having a financialization all across. So Ikigai is a semination of 4 things: what you are good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what is your passion. And all the things agar aap combine karo, so this is perfect, which suits us. So that's the concept of Ikigai, and that's how the concept was born. I was not very sure whether I'll get the registration because Ikigai is a generic word, but somehow nobody took this name. So I was lucky enough to get that.
No, so and now we are in this nice office in BKC that you run. So we can't show the office, so it's a nice and this glass all across. So I think the office also stands for transparency.
Absolutely.
Is what is coming out as your ethos. So now you have how many people here, Pankaj, with you?
So almost 25 people team.
Oh, wow.
So 8 people on the investing side, and the non-investing team, sales, head
Back
of operations,
office.
back office. A lot we have outsourced also to the right people. But broadly, we believe that this business doesn't need a lot of manpower because a lot of things can be outsourced now.
Yeah.
So for example, our custody fund accounting is outsourced to Deutsche Bank. Our RTA is outsourced to KFIN. Our digital onboarding platform is amazing. So a lot of things we have tried to keep it lighter, and focus on more productivity from our end, which is our core.
Okay. And now about numbers. So I think last what I heard, your AUM is close to 4,000 crore now.
Almost we are nearing 3,000 crores.
3,000.
So it's been 5 months.
Okay.
So God has.
And there's only one offering that you
one
are
offering right now,
which is a Cat 3
Kotak
AIF.
Cat 3 open-ended AIF, which is called Ikigai Emerging Equity Fund. So we have just started, investing for last 5 months.
That was your the biggest fund that you used to manage. Kotak Emerging Equity.
But Ikigai Emerging Equity Fund. So we launched that. It's an open-ended fund.
So see, Pankaj, when you are kind of managing money in a mutual fund, right? तो वहाँ पे तो investors can come with a 100 rupee check also and can come with crores also. In an AIF setup, by regulation, minimum investment is 1 crore, right? So the investor profile is somewhat different. Does it matter to a fund manager what the investor profile is, or it does not matter?
So obviously it matters because there are two things to it. So suppose there are two banks. One is a private sector bank, which has granular asset book. And we have seen over decades that business model is far more valuable than a business model which gives lumpy loans. Same analogy which we adopt here compared to a mutual fund versus a AIF or a PMS. Obviously the ticket sizes are large, and in AIF you can't onboard more than 1,000 investors, right?
Yeah.
So you have a concentrated 1,000 investor offering, whereas in a mutual fund it can go
Crores
to millions and crores also. So obviously the book is granular. But what I have done to de-risk this, so right from day one we said, as a matter of principle and thought process, let's try to de-risk within this model.
Okay.
How do we do that? Let's not chase AUM. Let's bring more granularity to the book.
Okay. So more number of customers.
More number of customers, and you'll be surprised to know not a single customer is more than 5% of the AUM.
Okay.
तो वो आए जाए उससे अपने को कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होना चाहिए to the rest of the investors. And as the fund size improves,
so the impact cost of moving in
and out
is less.
get de-risked, right? This is a matter of choice.
Yeah.
This is a matter of choice because I want longevity in the business, rather than business getting suffered or all other investing getting suffered. One day a big investor decides to move out or come in.
Yeah.
So we have tried to de-risk that, and my sense is we'll build a very granular business model within this framework.
Founding principles are strong, so
then everything will fall in place.
Yeah. And as long as you are in it for the long run, and this we've seen. I mean, I'm sure you invest in so many startups which are getting listed. Founders who are building long-lasting companies, eventually they get better valuations. Founders who are building just to get valuations, they neither get valuations nor the
business destroy होता है over a period, because उनका core heart में वो business build करना नहीं है.
Yeah.
तो वो लोग वैल्यू के लिए खेल रहे हैं. And valuation is a mirage.
Yeah.
आज है कल नहीं होगा.
Business will remain forever.
Will remain.
Okay. So now you briefly mentioned. Let's come back to it. And this also you had written in a post. I remember reading it about the philosophy that you're going to follow in this fund. So why don't you take us through it? So
what is important and why people in the start of the journey, which is a long journey, people support it. So in last 22 years, never compromised on integrity. So I think this is an intangible which we always kind of don't know the value of. But when I came out of the system, and ये याद रखो प्लेटफॉर्म की बहुत वैल्यू होती है, राइट? जब आप सिस्टम के बाहर आते हो तो एक हिकअप रहता है, एक मन में एंग्जाइटी रहती है कि क्या होगा. एंड गॉड हैज़ बीन रियली काइंड दैट probably the trust which people placed was phenomenal. And I think the three core principles which I have starting to say, and it's part of all my literature, is trust, process, performance. ईमानदारी, समझदारी, जिम्मेवारी. ये तीन चीज़ अगर आपके हार्डवर्क के साथ है, आप आउटकम की चिंता मत करो, वो अच्छा होगा. And that has been my core. So trust with transparency, which we all discussed right now. Process. So we have built a very strong process where management is key, business evaluation, forensic, all those processes we have laid it down. Make sure we covered 350 companies in our entire team, and the process which we had kind of embarked in the previous organization, most of them I have tried to replicate it out here in terms of how the analyst will look at it, how the reporting, how we will meet with interaction with management, and so on and so forth. And third is performance. Finally, whatever I say over a period, if I don't deliver, people are not coming to do time pass with us.
Correct.
So accountability of that.
Yeah.
That good, bad, I have to stay accountable to the trust people have placed on me, and I should be accountable to that performance. So अगर ये तीन चीज प्लस अपना हार्डवर्क आप करते रहो तो मतलब मेरे हिसाब से आउटकम अपने आप आ
So
जाएगा.
in terms of how you look at companies or which
Yes.
companies to bet on, I remember reading that you played a lot of emphasis on avoiding permanent loss of capital.
Yes, yes.
So can we talk a little bit about
हाँ,
this?
तो क्या है कि मेरे मन में खाली एक ही डर रहता है कि we should not take a decision which dilutes whatever good work I have done and leads to permanent loss of capital. So how do you do that? So long time back we inverted the situation and said that rather than looking at wealth creators, look at companies which have destroyed values in the past. In the last 25, 30, 35 years across the globe, in India, and what have been the common traits? Leverage, return on capital being lower.
Certain sectors are
inherently wealth destroyers.
Yeah.
Bad management, promoter succession planning, feud, siphoning of funds from the balance sheet, cash flows being extremely weak, untimely expansion. And one more thing which we saw, that whichever company went bankrupt or there was a hanky-panky, the promoter never kept the lady family member as a part of the board.
Okay.
Because we Indians are very protective about the lady of the house.
Yeah.
तो mother, sister, daughter,
अच्छा कि पुलिस आएगा तो मेरे को
जाएगा, उनको लेके नहीं
wife को
जाएगा,
लेके नहीं
राइट?
जाएगा,
तो जो ये थॉट है ये इंडिया में प्रेवलेंट है बिकॉज एनी कंपनी यू गो इन द पास्ट इफ देयर वाज इवन अ फैमिली मेंबर द प्रमोटर बिफोर द एक्चुअल थिंग ब्रोक डाउन रिमूव देम कि लाइबिलिटी मेरे ऊपर आए, it should not touch the lady family member of the house. So whenever we see a lady family member being part of the board, we get a little comfort that the hygiene factors are actually taken out.
So this is a new filter I'll have to add to my shortlisting criteria.
This is just one of the practical aspects.
No, this comes out of experience.
Experience because see, everything is not written in textbooks.
Yeah.
Certain things are prevalent to Indian context and we have to accept that reality.
Yeah.
And I think by doing this process, we have done a 11-point forensic and where cash flow is the key. So anything conversion is less than 70%. So EBITDA minus tax to cash flow from operation post working capital. अगर 70% के नीचे है, cumulative over 3, 4, 5 years, it's a red flag for us because it's a profit generation company but not a cash flow driven company. तो कभी ना कभी वो growth में problem आएगी if it is not supported by cash flow. And finally they will.
It can happen for 1 or 2 years that it is getting invested somewhere.
Invested हो रहा है या COVID आ गया या there is some problem. But over a 4, 5, 6 year period.
Any investment should result in cash ultimately.
Finally, because top line is vanity, bottom line is sanity, and cash in bank is reality. Agar if you don't believe in that, then businesses this is made a part of it.
Yeah.
Certain other points which we do is that change in reserves. So a lot of companies, good decent market caps, profit minus dividend should add to your net worth.
Yeah.
Ideally, basic accounting.
So expenses balance sheet पे root करते हैं, P&L में root नहीं करते हैं.
तो profit minus dividend never adds to your net worth. कहाँ जाता है? तो जो राइट ऑफ P&L से होना चाहिए वो राइट ऑफ बैलेंस शीट से हो रहा है. तो मार्केट गेट एक्साइटेड बाय द P&L ग्रोथ.
So PAT is overstated.
हाँ, overstated.
Yeah.
तो ये सारे शेनिगन्स को आप कैसे अवॉइड करो? तो वी हैव डिवाइज्ड अ 11-12 point thing and we try to make sure that companies by and large are in that framework. 1-2 साल आगे पीछे हो सकते हैं but cumulative history में अगर आप देखो तो they should not be too far off. And I think by doing this, what it gives you a rejection rate that no. And many companies don't pass our filter. And also obviously my core philosophy is backing right promoters because our belief is promoter ही बनाता है, promoter ही बिगाड़ता है. If you don't back the right intention, passionate promoter, honest promoter, probably over a period of time the good businesses can be destroyed. And I believe India is at a very inflection points जहाँ old guard is retiring, giving way to the new gen.
Yes.
In many businesses I see tremendous value creation will happen because the people are phenomenal in the next gen between 24 to 34, 35 years of age. But many places I get very disappointed, and they are wealth creators of the past. वहाँ next gen को कुछ पड़ी नहीं है, interest ही नहीं है. They are busy holidaying, they are busy riding exotic cars and doing all kinds of things. So you know that finally the time given to all of us is 24 hours. And that's a common resource between you, me, and the wealthiest person on the planet, and the most powerful person on the planet, and the poorest person on the planet. Nobody can contract or expand that 24 hours. And if we don't focus on those 24 hours in the fulcrum and the core which we are known for, over a period of time when that becomes weak, people who got associated with you also part you ways. So ये बहुत important है कि आप उसको समझो इस concept को. And many people who are not giving that due attention to that core fulcrum, somebody else will take that competition and the market share there. And the value automatically start building. So I give a lot of importance to the people who are running the show. And finally, I believe that many great businesses from journey of $4 to $10 trillion will be created. Can we identify few of them the way we did in the last 2 decades? And if we can do like 20, 30, 40 of them rightly, they are engines, we are bogie. उनके पीछे अपने को जुड़ना है.
So Pankaj, you rightly said that in the, let's say, 1 to 4 trillion journey of the GDP of the country, and now 4 to 10, maybe 25 trillion sometime in the future. Some of the themes today looks so obvious, right? Let's say private versus public. Telecom sector, for example, right? As soon as private sector companies came, now it looks so obvious that obviously they will take away market share. Same in banks. So are there some 2 or 3 mega themes that you see which will play out in this 10 trillion journey that you already are betting on?
So it will come out, right, over a period of time. But let me give you some data. So I'll give you 2 data points. First, if you look at 5 years back, the total market cap of new age businesses were hardly anything. Right? Today, when you look at the total market cap of listed space of new age businesses, is more than $100 billion.
Okay.
$100 billion cross हो गया, which is a very, very strong
number. और तो line लगी हुई है कितने सारे IPO आएंगे,
because it will feed on itself now. Because the success of Zomato, success of Swiggy, success of Policy Bazaar, success of Paytm, and many others, right? That will feed into other businesses, and they will also come for listing. And this is a journey which China has seen for 15 years. From 2000 to 2020 तक 20 साल उन्होंने देखा. US ने भी 20-25 साल देखा. एंड मेरा मानना है कि वर्ल्ड के लिए ये एक यूरेका मोमेंट है, which happened in 95, if you remember, when internet came in, right? And then after that, when the cycle started turning, you had a dot-com bubble, which kind of filtered out the weak and the good, right? And after that dot-com bubble, whichever company survived, you got created an Apple. You got a Amazon, you got a Google, you got a Meta, you got so many other, Nvidia, and so on and so forth. I think that time is getting repeated again, which is 2000, last 2 years say, and maybe next 20 years after the advent of AI. And it will change the landscape of how industries operate, not only in technology, but across the cross-section of industries.
So reallocation of resources.
Resources will happen, and many new winners will come in, and old guard will give way in terms of market share to the new guys, right? Look at FMCG. Today, FMCG as a brand is struggling, right? But the pipe, the platform, whether it be Zomato, Swiggy, they are growing at 100%. Why? Because you can distribute any product, the manufacturer can't change it. So that agility is not there. How did they do it? Tech. So I think many businesses, if they adopt tech very early, or new businesses, they will change the landscape. So this $100 billion, visualize now, is on a $5 trillion economy, almost, right? So that's about 2%, right? Any economy you look at, US or China, it's roughly about 15 to 20%.
Okay, so this 5 trillion will become 10
Say
trillion,
10 trillion,
and this 2% will become 10%.
10% भी अगर माने तो $1 trillion की बात कर रहे हैं अपने,
जो 100 बिलियन का 1 ट्रिलियन,
तो 10 गुना हो सकता है. कंपनीज ढूंढनी है उसमें, right? So the point which I am trying to say is that this is a mega theme in making. You have to be open-minded, You have to look at businesses where unit economics are right, things are going well, promoter understands thing.
So I'll tell you one challenge, at least when I think about it from a retail investor standpoint, or forget retail, even a high net worth investor standpoint, that many of these companies, they remain private for too long, and by the time they come for an IPO, some of these have come, names you have mentioned. There's a large part of value unlocking has already happened. Not to say that further unlocking cannot happen, but large part of value unlocking has already happened. Some winners, losers, वो सब होने के बाद public market में आता है, when you and I as a retail normal investors are participating. So you are saying ऐसा ही है, तो जब मौका मिल रहा है तब participate करो.
जब मौका मिले तब participate. And I think it's a myth. दूसरे ने जो कमाया वो कमाया, लेकिन यहाँ से भी अगर स्टॉक 20 गुना 25 गुना होता है, look at Nvidia, look at the last 20-year return of Nvidia now, right? It's crazy. Last 5 years is 25x.
No, I remember right? Meta was getting listed at 100 billion and all of us thought
कि महंगा है, right? Apple a few years, a decade back was $50-100 billion market cap. Today it's more than $1 trillion. So I'm just saying that don't go by what has happened in the past. Maybe 0 became 50. Okay, you may not have ride that journey, but 50 to 1 trillion was also a very big journey. So if you missed that also, then probably because it was available in the bourses then you will be probably not the right person. So I think that opportunity post value unlocking, and if you look at the journey of any private equity, the early investors is very attractive. Then comes the middle path where the company struggles for some time in terms of growth, in terms of other things. And then it starts to recover and go for IPO. And after that is also a very attractive stage. तो या तो आप एकदम पहले घुसो या आप IPO के समय के बाद घुस जाओ. अगर वो राइट प्रूव हो जाए तो मॉडल, ये दोनों जगह आपका बड़ा पैसा बनता है. So I don't think that we have missed the journey. And if my thought process comes right, that over a decade, economy is moving from $4 to $10 trillion, and the IT market cap, new age IT market cap is just $100 billion. Even if we assume on a lower basis 10% of that, $10 trillion, you will see a $1 trillion market cap creation, which is 10x of where we are today. And companies will compound maybe at 15x, 20x, 25x, which is not bad from a 10-year perspective.
And there will be so many new companies which will get listed. So 100%. Right now again options are also limited. वो भी
बढ़ेंगे, सब होगा. So I think I'm very positive on that mega trend. The second mega trend is, in my view, the entire energy transition which is happening across the globe. So last 15 years US, electricity consumption was flat. कोई growth नहीं. Last 2 साल में it saw hockey stick. क्यों? क्योंकि climate change is happening. In Europe now, 8 cities in Europe, among the top 10 cities of AC installation, 8 are out of Europe. Because of climate. Every hotel, every office needs air conditioning. So climate change is leading to more electricity consumption. The supply is not increased. Thermal plant को 5 साल लगता है, hydro को 6-7 साल लगता है, nuclear को 10 साल से ऊपर लगते हैं. तो overnight you can't create supply, but consumption has started to rising because of climate change. That's one. Second is data center. So whatever AI and everything is computing, and quant computing का जो बात हो रही है, Google has introduced 2 days back. Everything need data center, high processing, and they need power. Where do you get power? That's why US has suddenly seen in last 2 years huge electricity consumption growth. How do you get that? And third is the entire Bitcoin and EV. Everything needs mining, so you need power and electricity. So the entire energy transition will be a big role to play. Whether you play through transmission and distribution players, whether you play through transformers, whether you play through generators, whether you play through something else, is your choice, or data centers. But this entire energy transition for the next decade or so is a big mega theme in making. So I'm just talking about some of the mega trends where new companies will also come in. They will create huge value. Suddenly a 1 lakh crore market cap has been created from some solar companies. कभी थे, right? तो वो था नहीं. NTPC पहले आप 4 साल 5 साल पहले जाओ तो टोटल 1.5 लाख करोड़ की मार्केट कैप में NTPC मिल रहा था 4 साल पहले. आज उसकी बेबी लिस्ट हुई जो ग्रीन पावर, वो 1.25 लाख करोड़ में लिस्ट. So I'm just saying the wealth creation has been so phenomenal. So these are some of the mega trends you should keep in mind. And obviously the third one specific for India is manufacturing. I think we are at the
cusp. So let's talk about this. And I am personally bullish, but let me play the devil's
Yeah.
advocate here. That manufacturing fine, you know, world is aging, we have a young population, etc., etc. But ये तो बहुत साल से true है ना. ये ऐसा तो नहीं कि we have suddenly become young. We have been young for quite some time, right? And local domestic market itself is there. Government has been making policies, but वो भी हो गया अभी 10-12 साल से. तो अभी तक हुआ क्यों नहीं है वो बड़ा transition क्यों नहीं हुआ? हो रहा है. There are pockets
See, it
of
happened.
excellence.
See, it happened. So if you look at the last 30 years, the transition had happened. So Europe and America were two big power plays of manufacturing. Then slowly, because of globalization, China became the manufacturing powerhouse.
Yes.
And China exported deflation to the rest of the world.
Yes, it did.
Mass production at the
Cheapest cost,
right? And it became the manufacturing hub for the world.
Yes.
Right? On the same hand, because of our problems on land, capital, labor, all that, we became the back office to the world.
Yes.
Which means IT services, everything.
Yeah, all kind of
and then
services,
slowly we became pharmacy to the world.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what has changed in the 5 years? Obviously, you know the geopolitical situation. Anything but China. ABC is the big theme.
Yes.
And this is we are seeing across the world. That post-COVID, supply chains are designed so that you diversify away from China.
Okay.
Now, given that fact, it's no longer a talk, it's no longer a boardroom discussion, it's getting implemented at the ground level.
So Pankaj, I'm agreeing with you that it is getting implemented. Obviously, we have an Apple plant now.
अब टेलविंड आ गई. तो पहले हमें चाइना के साथ compete करना पड़ता था और चाइना में कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल का कोई कंसेप्ट ही नहीं है.
नहीं, तो
सब
गवर्नमेंट
चीज फ्री है, सब चीज फ्री है,
yeah.
राइट? अगर वहां पर वो नहीं दे रहा है, मतलब वहां पर हम कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल पर ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं, बट वहाँ कोई कंसेप्ट ही नहीं है,
तो हम
अब कितने दिन compete करें?
या तो हम तो
देन गवर्नमेंट वो
होंगे.
का PLIs आई, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स में आप देखो क्या हो रहा है. कभी आपको मौका मिले, आप श्री सिटी जाके देखो, 10,000 एकड़ ऑफ लैंड. The top electronics companies of the world have set up a shop there.
Okay.
And look at the ecosystem what it is getting developed. नहीं तो Apple openly state कैसे करेगा अपने annual report में कि X of China, we will have a supply chain which will supply 15-20% of my incremental demand. Right? Now India is producing that. iPhone 16 देखो खोल के, it's not made in China, it's made in India.
Okay.
So I'm just saying that the ecosystem is getting developed, and more companies I am meeting, all of them are saying import substitution is such a big play, and the kind of opportunities we are seeing is huge. Before your meeting, I was with the management, right? And they are exporters to some ingredients which goes in chocolates, cosmetics. They are one of the world's largest.
Okay.
पूरी लाइफ भर उन्होंने 450 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू किया. अब 3 साल में they will triple that revenue.
Okay.
क्यों? क्योंकि the Chinese guys they don't want to take incremental.
Okay. All demand will
And these are all large multinationals. So I'm giving you examples after examples I can give you. But this time, if we don't do a self-goal, I think for India specifically, it's a large opportunity. And look at the private sector capex. कि हम कितने साल तक 3.5-6 लाख करोड़ पर होवर कर रहे थे. Private sector capex annual. For the first time on a trailing 12 months basis, we have crossed 10 lakh crores.
Okay.
So ये प्राइवेट केपेक्स जो हो रही है ये रियल है. कब हमने सोचा था बड़े ग्रुप सेमीकंडक्टर की बात करेंगे, कब बड़े ग्रुप हाइड्रोजन की बात करेंगे, कब बड़े ग्रुप ईवी ट्रांजिशन की बात करेंगे. बट नाउ यू आर सीइंग रिस्क कैपिटल आल्सो बीइंग अवेलेबल इन द ग्राउंड. तो आई थिंक इट्स ऑल क्यूमुलेटिंग.
सो मेरा यही क्वेश्चन था दैट in some of these newer sectors, you know, whether it is Tata Group partnering with someone and setting up a semiconductor shop, and Reliance Group has big plans in alternative energy, etc. The traditional large capex sectors, whether it is cement, steel, oil refining, processing, वहाँ पे एक बड़ा activity नहीं हो रहा है. Okay. So what is the reason कि नहीं हो रहा है?
There is also happening. So cement has expanded production and is expanding production every year. 50 to 70 million tons new plant is coming in. Steel
But cement में what we are seeing, it's largely M&A which is driving.
Up ही है, लेकिन big guys are also driving that. That's a consolidation which is happening. But big guys are also doing organic capex. फिर आप steel में देख रहे हो तो large guys are doing it. Then you are seeing in oil and gas that the PSUs plus the private sector is doing it. So I think that's happening. But a lot of capex incremental will be from sectors which we have not seen.
Okay.
For example, the entire renewable part which I have taken. वो था ही नहीं इंडिया में. तो वो जो पूरा सिस्टम ग्रिड के साथ बनेगा वो तो पूरा ही नया केपेक्स
है, सबके हमारे आपके घर में लगेंगे,
सबके लगेंगे, राइट। अब उसकी जो पूरी बैकवर्ड थी वो चाइना से आता था। नाउ सोलर सेल्स एवरीथिंग गवर्नमेंट इज मैंडेटेड कि भाई आफ्टर 26 एवरीथिंग शुड बी डोमेस्टिक प्रोड्यूस्ड, राइट। लेट मी गिव यू अनदर एग्जांपल. We will consume 1 crore 30 lakh ACs this year, right? Go back 4 years back. Everything, 80% of that ACs, compressor, outdoor unit was imported.
Okay.
Right? Because China was producing. It was easy for us to just go and brand. Assemble karke brand kar do. Then came the PLI and custom duty. And then government said ki you can't do that. So now it's the opposite. 60% of the ACs or 65% value add is now in India.
Okay.
Huge compressor factories started coming in. 2 or 3 of them are coming in. Shri City में बड़े plants आ गए. So the entire ecosystem, and think about कि 1 करोड़ 30 लाख पर 85% imported value add होता था. आज वही 65-70% is domestic होने लगा. It's a change right in front of us. So I'm just saying that we may be skeptic, but underlying change has started to happen, and this will build over the next 10, 15, 20 years in my view.
तो वो तो फिर then it's a positive cycle which starts because
वो feeding करने लग जाता है.
छोटे यूनिट्स भी आएंगे, फिर वहाँ पे रहने के लिए लोग आएंगे तो रेजिडेंशियल डिमांड भी बढ़ेगा.
And I'll give you small examples. So in couple of auto and companies what we are seeing. So the entire aerospace supply chain was dependent a lot on Russia. After the Ukraine war, that's disrupted.
Yeah.
Now both the largest companies, Boeing and Airbus, what I'm given to understand, they are looking for incremental sources of supply of precision engineering products, which goes. Apart from China, there's no else, nobody, no country.
Yeah, so Israel is there, but scale नहीं है.
नहीं है scale. और वो लोग अभी अपने problem में हैं. तो they have landed in India, and they are speaking to auto and guys. Can you make this because it's a precision item. Engineering skills उनकी अच्छी हैं. And they have pivoting to non-auto. So it's a win-win situation for them.
And they can do scale.
So I'm just saying that ये opportunities have started to feed into itself. Look at what IT industry got created out of India.
You'll have a good busy next 5-10 years in finding these companies.
मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ. अभी तो इतना मजा आ रहा है. आप रोज जाके नए कंपनियों से मिलो ग्राउंड लेवल पर और कहाँ क्या ट्रैक्शन है. कौन सोचा था हम डिफेंस में एक्सपोर्ट करेंगे, आप बताओ मुझे.
नहीं बिल्कुल
नहीं करते थे ना. अब 4-5 हजार करोड़ का हम एक्सपोर्ट कर डाले लास्ट ईयर. So it's not a small number, and incrementally when you speak to most of the private public sector, domestic से ज़्यादा export की demand आ रही है. Had I said 5 years back we will export, you would have laughed that you are the most optimistic guy on the earth, on India. Finally अपने सामने हो रहा है.
बुलेट्स तो हम इंपोर्ट करते
थे. सब कुछ अब इंडिया में बन रहा है. So I'm just saying, and we are exporting to the rest of the world. So I'm just saying that don't undermine the change which has started to happen. I think this change is for real. Unless we do some self-goal on policy side or any other thing side, it's hard to reverse that change in my view. Or unless geopolitically becomes very favorable, where China is admired by everyone, which I think it's hard to because there's a power struggle going on. US wants its supremacy, China also wants to impose it. So I think that fight will go on for a long time, I think, and India should extract as much benefit out of it in my view.
Okay, so we'll take our last track. Although you were talking in such long-term horizons, I hate to bring this topic, but I would really want to hear your views on the current market setup, and I'll maybe speak for half a minute the way I am thinking about it in my mind, and then obviously you can help me decode it. So last 4 odd years have been kind of really good for Indian markets, Indian market investors, all retail investors. But if you look at a 4-year block, it looks really nice. 1-year block, okay. So let's say if I talk about flagship indices, they have given, let's say, 12-13% return, right, in this calendar year. But uske samne Nasdaq has given 30%, S&P has given 25%, gold has given 30%. So in a 4-year block, Indian equity market, at least large cap indices, they look very nice.
Very nice.
But 1 year not so nice. So that is one story. Mid cap, small cap were doing really well. There has been some correction over the last couple of months. Again, it has stabilized. Let's see how it goes. But that one-way rally which was happening has been paused or interrupted, right? Now, if I slightly, since you mentioned geopolitics, President Trump will take office pretty soon in couple of months, and at least what he has been posturing or positioning is he wants to make America the go-to place for everything, including manufacturing, which is reflected in how equity markets are behaving. A lot of money which has moved out of India and across the globe has actually moved back to US, right?
Yes.
So a very, very interesting setup. And this I'm talking really short term. This has nothing to do with whether solar adoption will happen in India or not. That it will definitely happen. So in such a market setup, how are you thinking about putting that incremental crore or incremental 10 crore that you have to invest?
So let's divide it into two parts. First, on the global setup.
Yeah.
So it's a dream come true in the US markets.
Yeah.
And just for understanding, in the history of US capital markets, this is the 5th time ever that back-to-back calendar years, you have got 20% plus return in S&P 500. And normally if history is to go by, the next year generally tends to be
a bad year.
Bad year.
Okay.
Except 1 year which was good. So previous only 4 occasions this has happened.
Yeah.
And this is the 5th time in the history of capital markets. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
The second one, which is my biggest worry, is the concentration of market there. So top 10 stocks now constitutes 38% of S&P 500.
Okay.
Which is the highest ever in the history of American stock exchanges.
And that will be largely again tech companies.
All the 10, Magnificent 7,
Mag 7, yeah.
and plus 3.
Yeah.
तो 10 कंपनियों को अगर आप देख लो, उनका weightage now is 38%, which is a huge risk. Now from here on, to create that more out of that will be a really tough task because the US is a very broad market. So anything miss on earnings or any regulation change or anything can hurt that. And the last but not the least, US market outperformance over the last 5-10 years is the highest versus rest of the world in last 75 years.
Ruchir Sharma wrote an article recently in FT that it's not just market, it's also currency. On a relative basis,
everything.
It's most expensive ever.
Ever, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at some of the other concerns, fiscal deficit, highest since Great Depression and World War II.
Yeah.
At 7.5%.
Yeah.
US is sitting on a trickling time bomb of $36 trillion of debt.
Yeah.
And annualized debt payment is $2 trillion.
Yeah.
So an interest payment.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that everything don't match.
Yeah.
So मेरे को डर ये है कि next year, maybe next 2 साल, US markets probably is approaching a peak. And probably that will unshake the global markets.
Okay.
So the risk this time, less from India, look out for risk from rest of the world.
Okay.
And especially US, because I worry that US markets are nearing a peak out there because of all the data points which I am seeing.
Okay.
That's one. The second data point comes to India.
Yeah.
So I have been very vocal about in the last 4, 5, 6 months since the launch of my fund also, that please be careful. There's a lot of froth. Last 4 years have been extremely charitable because earnings growth has been above 20%. And that's how you saw the market compounding of more than that and PE expansion happening. Yeah. But now earnings growth has started to slow down because of the macro. Government spending low, election was there, corporates sitting at the highest margin levels, and top line growth is not happening. So when you combine everything, this year we will end at 5-6% earnings growth. And next year probably 10 to 12% earnings growth. And that's what market is discounting in terms of returns.
Yeah.
Finally, markets are a mirror of what earnings delivers, right? Yeah. So my sense is that next 18 to 24 months could be a consolidating market. The range could be 22, 22.5 on the lower side, 25.5, 26 on the upper side. And within that range, you have to find winners at the bottom up stock picking. So my thought is that in last 4 years, people got mistaken by luck versus skill. People thought
it always happens in a bull market.
People thought luck is their skill.
Yeah.
And everybody on the street आज fund manager है.
Yeah.
आप पूछ लो 10 स्टॉक है उनके पास, वो आपको बता देंगे जब आप मिलने जाओ. Now I think the next 18 to 24 months, many people who haven't experienced a sideways market will find it very troublesome. And there I think the stock selection, portfolio construction will play a massive role. Because अगर earnings नहीं आए across the broader spectrum, then how will you make money? So I will be a lit careful. I will say that please realign your risk in the portfolio. Please be with managers who have seen cycles. Please make sure that you make less mistakes and you stay on the pitch for a longer period of time. I worry that many companies on FSME and all that, how investors will get exit. There's an exuberance which is going on, the party going on. 5 years, 65x on the SMA IPO index. It's crazy. So when the bubble burst this time, because of global plus local slowdown and all that, I think it will not be charitable. So we need to be extra careful. If last 1.5, 2 months is any trailer, index corrected by 8-9% on a headline. After correcting 11-12%, they recovered a bit. But if you look at the underlying index, 75% of 4,600 stock universe is down by 20% plus. So the damage underlying the index is very huge. So what I would suggest that yes, the broader story which all we spoke about is great, but we need to navigate the next 12 to 18 months very carefully, making sure we don't make big mistakes. And if we can do that, I think the compounding could
that is your philosophy, avoid big mistakes.
Avoid big mistake. वही गलतियाँ को बड़े को गलतियों को कम करना है. I would not claim that I am a great stock picker या मैं बहुत कुछ तोड़ फोड़ कर लेता हूँ. But गलतियाँ अगर कम करोगे ना, तो वो compounding अपने आप आगे पीछे करके हो जाएगी.
So when I was coming in the morning, I was thinking what we'll talk about. Every time I came, was going back to this Ben Graham school of thought where that margin of safety is so important. Obviously, he took it to another extreme कि margin of safety नहीं होगा तो मैं invest ही नहीं करूँगा. Warren Buffett, although he learned from him, but he blended that. Okay, if a good company at a reasonable price, you can still buy. But this again, my personal philosophy also that margin of safety, because you will never be able to predict when a bad cycle
comes. And where you will get hit, you don't know. And the only fear I have is that in name of greed and narratives and stories, people are again forgetting the basics of investing. Companies with market cap between 20 to 35, 40,000 crores, only on story, narrative, earning growth, they are going up. But when they look at your cumulative cash flow of last 5 years, it's not even 50-100 crores on a market cap of 35,000 crores. So I'm just saying that these mistakes were made in the past. Again, they will made in the future. Only
new investors make the same old mistakes.
And only thing you need to do is follow your process, have a good temperament, manage your risk in the portfolio by portfolio construction. You should be okay. You should be the last man standing. If every chip is down, आपका portfolio last खड़ा होते रहना चाहिए. Is only the thought which I always have.
So it's such a. Actually, this is the Ikigai I am taking away from this meeting, that in the same 40-minute conversation, we are also talking about mega trends and what is going to be the shape of the world in the next 10 years, or definitely of India. And we are also talking about that 10 साल तो देखो, but आज का भी ध्यान रखो.
See, long term is always built of short terms.
Short terms.
So in that pursuit of
you need to survive to see the long term.
And survival is most underrated. I don't know, one of the publications recently carried an article, and that was an eye-opener article, that between 1 to 3 years of experience, there are 1,600 fund managers now in India. But as you go down the curve, from 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, that number of experience of fund managers above 15 years is 24. From 1,600 to 24. And 20 years above is just 14 or 15.
No, it's a brutal business. I've been part of this business. It's a brutal, it takes a toll on you. And I think possibly this is the only business where anyone can judge you to the second decimal. Because returns to सबके दिखते हैं.
And everybody has a right to comment and pass and comment. And in the short term, you may look like a idiot, but long term you will see what will happen. But market has to give you that extra rope. When you are going through that bad patch, and which every fund manager goes through, that your trust, your past karma will help you stay on the course, because investors will say that he will come back. that trust. But during the good times, if you are too arrogant, if success goes in your head, and you try to, misbehave with people, I think it comes back very badly. And that makes you that your extra time which you get during a bad phase, you will not be given. So I always believe in philosophy of equanimity, that during good times, don't be too exuberant. During bad times, don't be too depressed. वो भी आया था, वो भी चला जाएगा, ये भी आया था, ये भी चला जाएगा.
This too shall pass.
This too shall pass. And समय है, समय बलवान है, आप मनुष्य बलवान नहीं है. So keep doing your karma right, things will fall in place.
On that happy note, so nice catching up with you,
thank
and
you,
wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I really, from the bottom of my heart, believe that if, as you said, there will be 7, 8, 10 fund managers who will make it at a global level, Pankaj should be one of them.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.